Hey everybody, welcome to A.R.E Live. I'm Mark Tier, the founder of Black Spectacles, and today I'm with Mike Newman, who's going to talk about the transition between A.R.E 4 to A.R.E 5. Mike and I had the distinct pleasure of going to NCARB out in DC a couple of weeks ago to learn all about the new exam, and it was really interesting. We learned a lot about how they actually write it, sort of the philosophy behind how they write it. I think it's fair to say, and I think Jared would agree, they kind of nerded out on how they write the questions and so forth. So it was really cool to actually learn everything in terms of how they put it together. So we're going to talk about how they do it, what the new exam is, and what's different between it and A.R.E 4. But before we get started, if you'd like to attend our next A.R.E Live broadcast, which is going to be a question and answer session with Mr. Mike Newman on April 27th. You can visit blackspectacles.com/podcast to register. And during the broadcast, you'll have a chance to ask questions to the group and to Mike, and we'll ask everyone to submit questions ahead of time. So if you submit your questions first, then you will, you'll be sort of first on the docket. So now, if you don't know Mike, he's an adjunct professor at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. He's also the founder of Shed Studio, and he is the instructor for Black Spectacles' online AIA A.R.E Prep curriculum. If you haven't already checked out our AIA A.R.E Prep curriculum, head over to blackspectacles.com to watch any of the free tutorials from the courses. And today, we have a special Black Spectacles promo code to share, so stay tuned to hear about that at the end. But first, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Mike.
Okay. It was indeed a fascinating conversation in DC at NCARB, and they did definitely nerd out on the whole how to make a test process, but it was interesting and fascinating. And the most useful part about that was it allowed us to kind of see in a bit to how they're imagining, like, kind of the way that they are thinking about the exam. And so when you have that in your head, it sort of changes the way you think about kind of what they're looking for and that kind of thing. And we'll go through a little bit of that as we go along. But let's just sort of jump in and start. First thing to say, just kind of start with the basics. So there's a huge amount changing. All kinds of new arrangements of exams and IDP and a whole bunch of other stuff. But also relax. Everything's going to be fine. The gist of the situation is actually that everything's still the three basic concepts of education, so getting an accredited degree, getting experience, demonstrating that experience through IDP. The name will probably change at some point, although it's still called IDP on the website. And then taking an exam. And the exam is changing form, but it's still, similar type questions and similar situations. So it's not dramatically different. It's not like you no longer have to take an exam or it's much, much harder or anything like that. So that was kind of interesting to talk through a bit. So you're still required to do all three of those things, and the exam is still going to be a very big exam, but it's always been that. It's while going to be going from 7 distinct exams to 6 exams. A couple of those exams are pretty big, so it's roughly the same amount of hours in terms of exam time. So it's still, like I said, essentially the same basic process, the same basic concepts. The big changes is just how all the specific concepts are being grouped, and then some of the other sort of more minor changes are going to be the specific way that they ask questions. So big thing is kind of reorganized. Smaller thing is there's going to be very specific new types of questions. But as I said, the overall concept here is everything's roughly the same. It's just in a new package.